Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Friday's lesson. And today we are going to continue with yesterday's poem, which was Every Time I Climb a Tree. And I know that I love that poem. So let's go ahead and get started with the objective. So students will be able to identify the author's purpose for writing Every Time I Climb a Tree. So boys and girls, the author, the speaker, or the poet, when they write a story, they always have a reason why. Just like you have a reason for standing up and going to the kitchen, right? Because you're hungry. The author, the speaker, or the poem, remember, because in 4th grade we know that a poet is also a speaker. He writes a story, or she writes a story for a reason. So we're going to find that out today. So what are we going to do? We're going to label the poem, the lines, the stanzas, the line breaks, and the rhyme scheme, which we already did yesterday. We're going to annotate the poem, or we're going to sketch a picture. We also did yesterday, and we're going to annotate imagery. So number 3 is the new one. We're going to annotate imagery. How does that give us an image in our head of what the poet or speaker is doing? How are we going to do that? We're going to number the lines, line breaks, stanzas, rhyme scheme, which we did. We're going to underline sensory language. So how does that sensory language make me feel like I'm there climbing a tree with the speaker? And we're going to ask, why did the author write this poem? What was the reason for it? And then why? Well, a good reader knows the reason behind a writing. Just like in anything that you do, remember, if you go to the kitchen, what's your reason for going to the kitchen? Well, you're probably hungry, right? You want a snack. You always have the tendency to have food with you. The same thing goes for a poem, speaker, or author. So let's go ahead and get started with watching a very quick video. And I do need you to have packet number 2 and go to page 7. So what packet do you need? You need the new packet, packet 2, and you need to be on page 7. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Packet number 2, page 7. Yeah, 5 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let's watch a very quick video.
Welcome to this poetry slam. All right, guys, I'll call you up one at a time, okay? Have fun up there. Check it. Yo, welcome to the Poetry Cafe. But you don't need to sip a latte or rock a beret. First up, Hisajo Sugita has a haiku. She flew in from Japan just to spit it for you. A haiku is short with just 3 lines, with a set number of syllables each time. 5 in the first, then 7 syllables, then 5 again in the last line. That's critical. It doesn't matter about the rhythm or the rhyme. Their theme is nature most of the time. Come on up on the stage. Yeah, come on.
Chasing butterflies deep into the spring mountains. So I lost my way.
Ooh, that was nice.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Edward Lear for a little bit. We'll keep it lighthearted with a limerick. They're often silly, sometimes rude or naughty. They've been causing laughs for centuries, probably. Limericks are short, 5 lines, okay? And they always rhyme A-A-B-B-A. Come on, Mr. Lear,
Hey,
lend them your ear.
All right. There was a young lady whose chin resembled the point of a pen. So she had it made sharp and purchased a harp and played several tunes with her chin. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
I appreciate it.
That was excellent. Thank you. We have a special treat for you up next. It's the bard William Shakespeare in the flesh. He's hopping on a sonnet, 14 lines. Sonnets always have clear rhyme scheme defined. 3-4 line groups, those are quatrains. They rhyme A-B-A-B, I'm not playing. Then a rhyming couplet, 2 lines at the end. They also have a certain meter contained within. That's the pattern of stressed syllables in a line. Looking for love, pick a sonnet every time. Come on up, Mr. Shakespeare. He's gonna do a shortened version for y'all.
In faith I do not love thee with mine eyes, for they in thee 1,000 errors note. But 'tis my heart that loves what they despise, who in despite of you is pleased to dote. Only my plague thus far I count my gain, that she that makes me sin awards me pain.
Woo, that was crazy. I'm gonna have to unpack that later. Okay, folks, that's all the dead poets tonight. But I wanted to make mention of a few more types. We've got concrete poems, a visual surprise where the poem is shaped like what it describes. A poem that tells a story is called a ballad. Many have been passed down through songs, and that is kinda cool. But to end, here's a poem I had to rehearse. This type of poem has no rules, it's a free verse. I need no rules, no meter, no rhyme. Forgive me, this verse is so sweet and so cold.
Okay, we're also going to watch this very other short video, which I love.
Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility.
Wordsworth!
Yes?
Thanks for the intro. We'll take it from here.
What's going on?
What's poetry? Here's what I found. It's when you're written and spitting words for the meaning and sound. Poems, they pack an emotional punch, whether a haiku, a sonnet, or a limerick for fun. Some poetry has a super strict form, but it could be formless and be a super slick poem. A poem written in verse you'll find. Most have meter and many have rhyme. What's prose? It's the opposite of poetry, straightforward, like a newspaper story. See, prose has rules to be grammatical, but with poems, rules go on sabbatical. You can do whatever you dream, cool runnings, and drop capitals like E.E. Cummings, and break grammatical rules with abandon. Tell Keats and Yeats you're coming for the canon.
Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Also figurative language, the choice is yours. And like umpires, now you know the score. Figurative language goes beyond literal meaning, uses similes and metaphors and even appealing to the five senses. That's imagery. Now let's compare prose to some poetry. Fog appeared in the harbor and city. That's some pretty simple prose. You get me? Carl Sandburg's poem has figures of speech. The fog comes on, little cat feet. That's a metaphor about the paws of a kitty who sits looking over the harbor and city. Now, fog doesn't really look, cause it's not alive, but the poet got creative. He personified Sandburg's expressive language shines. So read and write poems, it'll blow your mind. Let's do poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable.
Poets often use a sound device, like rhyming with some words sound alike. You can use a rhyme in a rhyme scheme. That's a pattern of rhymes at the end of each line. See, it could be A-B-A-B or A-A-B-B or many others, do you see? But you don't have to rhyme in your composition. You can write in free verse. See what I did there? Alliteration is another sound device. Just repeat first consonants, that'll sound nice, like rise up for you, the flag is flown. Some alliteration from Walt Whitman. And lastly, let's hit up onomatopoeia when the sound of a word gets the clue about its meaning. Rumble and rattle sound like echoes from a yell. Like it rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell.
Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable. Poetry, picking words for the sound and the meaning. When they're written, everyone will gather round. Poetry, kicking over what's literal and getting figurative with any low syllable.
Impressive. It occurs to me, your rap songs could be considered poetry. Striking resemblances. Well, with that, I must bid you adieu and return to the netherworld.
All right, boys and girls, so let's go ahead and continue what we did yesterday. So this is how our poem should look. Right now, it looks like we did a lot, but in reality, we just did rhyme scheme. We did 2 little hashtags for each stanza. We did a hashtag, and we also, if you wanted to, you drew a little picture of what you saw in your head, and then we did the same thing for stanza 3. And then we identified that it was a lyrical poem. We identified the lines, the stanzas, the line breaks, any text features. We read it 3 times. So today what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to flip the page. So right now we're on page 7. But remember, A good reader always goes back and rereads the poem. So let's go ahead and start reading. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I want you to follow along as I read. Every time I climb a tree, every time I climb a tree, every time I climb a tree, I scrape a leg or skin a knee, and every time I climb a tree, I find some ants or dodge a bee, and get the ants all over me. And every time I climb a tree, where have you been? They say to me, but they don't know that I am free. Every time I climb a tree, it's like the best to spot a nest that has an egg, or maybe 3. And then I skin the other leg. But every time I climb a tree, I see a lot of things to see. Swallow rooftops and TV, and all the fields and farms there be. Every time I climb a tree. Though climbing may be good for ants, and move it a little bit. It isn't awfully good for the pants, but still it's pretty good for me every time I climb a tree. So boys and girls, this one here, the speaker or the poet, remember, we're 4th graders, so the poet was trying to emphasize or make a point every time he climbs a tree. So we could already start inferencing that he loves climbing trees, right? That's what he does for fun, or anytime that maybe he's upset, or anytime. That is an inference we can make, a conclusion. He didn't tell me he loves climbing trees, but boys and girls, based on the times that he repeated every time I climb a tree, I could infer or conclude that that's what he loves to do. All right, I want you to flip the page. So now we are on page 8. And it's going to look something like this. So back of page 7 is page 8. And I want you to focus on number 1. So I want you to circle it. So you can grab your pencil. And I want you to circle number 1. And then on page 9, I want you to circle number 7. So we circle number 1 and number 7. Okay? Let's go back to page 8. Let's read the question. Let's zoom in for a little bit. And remember, anything I write, you write. It says in the poem, what is the main purpose in repeating the line every time I climb a tree? Boys and girls, what do I do to this question? They're asking what? The main purpose, right? So I can highlight it or you can underline it. Now, what is the purpose of what? What do they want to know? Yes, that they're repeating, right? I'm going to box in that word repeating because I know that they're repeating. Now, what line are they asking about? Every time I climb a tree. So this is how your question should look like. In the poem, what is the main purpose in repeating the line every time I climb a tree? Now remember, boys and girls, as we're going through the answers, we need to circle verbs, underline important information, and then we do process of elimination. We went back and reread the poem like a good reader does. And let's see. A, to show that the trees are tall. So this answer is telling me that the author is repeating, the poet is repeating the line every time I climb a tree to show that the trees are tall. Boys and girls, is that the reason why he's repeating every time I climb a tree? No, right? But before we do process of elimination, remember, I'm going to circle the word show. That's my verb. This one says that it's showing that the trees are tall. Does it have to do anything with the trees being tall? No. These 2 words tell me that A is not my answer. They're not trying to show me that the trees are tall. If they were trying to show me that the trees are tall, the speaker would have described the tall trees and how hard it was to climb them. All right, let's go to V. To show that the speaker climbs a lot of trees. What word do I circle here, boys and girls? What's my verb? I circle the word show. Good job. Now, this answer is saying that it's showing that it's repeating every time I climb a tree. Why? Because the speaker's doing what? He's climbing a lot of trees. Okay, so is that the reason why he's repeating every time I climb a tree? Is it because he climbs a lot of trees? Well, maybe, right? Well, we know that we did an inference that he loves climbing trees. So that means he does it a lot, right? So B is right now question mark. That was a clue word. A lot. All right, let's go to C. To describe how the speaker climbs to the top, what word do I circle there? This one's talking that it's describing. This one's saying he's repeating every time I climb a tree because he's describing how. Remember, if they're telling you the how, they're giving you the steps. So how the speaker climbs to the top. Boys and girls, did the speaker tell me how he gets to the top? Did he tell me first I grab onto the tree and then I put my left foot on top of my right foot? And then, did he tell me that? Did he give me the steps on how to climb? No. So boys and girls, what word tells me that C is not my answer? How he climbs to the top. I don't know how he gets to the top. I know he gets to the top, but he didn't tell me how. So C is not my answer. He's not describing how he got there. Let's go to D. To explain how the speaker tears his pants. Boys and girls, what word do I circle here? What's my verb? Explain. Okay. What is he explaining? So he's repeating every time I climb a tree because he's trying to explain how the speaker tears his pants. Boys and girls, remember, what does the word how mean? That means that they're giving you the what? The steps. So good job if you said the steps. Boys and girls, are they giving me the steps or are they telling me how the speaker tears his pants? Did they tell me first he got stuck on a branch and then he tried to pull it but it got ripped? Did they do that? Absolutely not. What word tells me that D is not my answer? Again, the how, which are the steps to how he tears his pants. He doesn't tell me how he tears them. I could infer or conclude that he probably tears them when he's going up too fast, right? Or he's moving too fast, or he got stuck on something, but they don't tell me how. So D is not my answer. So boys and girls, what is the best answer? It is B. So what is the author's purpose for writing or repeating the line every time I climb a tree? Well, it's to show that the speaker climbs a lot of trees, boys and girls. He loves climbing on those trees. Good job. All right. Make sure you have everything written. If you're watching this video independently and you have not copied everything, you can pause it to finish everything. If you're in class, I'm going to give you 15 more seconds. All right, let's go on to number 2. So number 2 is right over here. And it says, the structure of the poem helps the reader know that is. First of all, boys and girls, what does structure mean? How it was written. So I'm going to put here how the poem, remember, I write, you write, how the poem was written. So they want to know the structure. How is it written? How does it help the reader know? Well, let's see. Let's go back to the poem and see how it was written. Okay, well, we did say that it was a lyrical poem. What does a lyrical poem do? Sounds like a song, right? Lyrics kind of sounds like a song. The speaker, the poet, is telling me what he's doing, how he's feeling. Okay, so let's go back here. Oops. And we know that it's lyrical, right? So let's write it here. So it's lyrical. Oh, there it is, boys and girls. Look at this. It's right there. I've already known my answer because I labeled my poem. So I know that it's that one. I know it's not humorous. It did not make me LOL. Literally. What does lyrical mean? Let's write it here. So it sounds like a song. Or it could also be expresses feelings. Free verse. What does a free verse mean? That means that nothing, it has no rhythm or rhyme. Remember, anything I write, you write. How do we know that it's a lyrical poem, boys and girls? How does a poem sound? Remember, let's go back and read stanza 1. It says, every time I climb a tree, every time I climb a tree, every time I climb a tree, I scrape a leg or skin a knee. Every time I climb a tree, I find some ants or dodge a bee or get the ants all over me. What is it doing? It sounds like a song, right? Yes, let's go ahead and write it. So, I know this. Remember, format matters. Complete sentence. I know it's a lyrical poem because it sounds like a song. It has internal rhyme. That means some words rhyme internally in that same line. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 1 minute. If you're watching this video by yourself, you can just pause it. If you're watching it in class, I'm giving you 1 minute to catch up. So let me zoom out so you can see both. This is how your questions, boys and girls, should look. Every time you take a test, every take you do a mini test. Anytime you have this in front of you, this is exactly how it should look. You should not just circle an answer. There's no way. You have 30 seconds. This is what I want to see from now on every time that you turn in your exit tickets. Or anytime that I assign you a story and it's something like this. Okay, before I let you go and to the live video, I want you to focus on number 3 and 4. So let's get you started with number 3. What point of view is the story being told from? So it gives you 2 options. Remember, first I need to annotate my question. So they want to know the point of view the story is being told from. Now, what verbs did the speaker use? First person, third person. So what is a first person? So look at what first person says. A person in the story is a narrator. So he would use something like I, me, my. So those are some clue words that they would use, the speaker or the poet. Myself, ourselves. Now, third person, that is a person outside of the story. So that's somebody who's outside, kind of like when you go to a movie and they're telling you what's happening, but that person, you could never see the person who's speaking, right? So this person would use something like they, she, he. So it's talking, it's kind of like pointing to someone. They went to the store. He bought this. She did this. First person is talking about myself. I love this pencil. It's my pencil. So this is the one that we're going to go ahead and work in class. So I want you to you can put a little circle here. And then number 4. Number 4 says in stanza 3, oh, boys and girls, I know exactly what stanza to go to. What is shown by the statement? Shown by the statement. So if it's a statement, it's a sentence. So I want you to write here. It's a sentence or a line in this case. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So in stanza 3, what is shown by the statement? And then I skin the other leg. Boys and girls, what line was that? Go back to your poem. Tell me, what line was this? And then I skin the other leg. lines 20 and 21, right? So I'm going to put here lines 20 and 21. Yes, right? This one was 20 and this one was 21. Now, look what it says. What is shown? If it's shown, that means I can probably see it, right? Because it says shown. What is shown by the statement? And then I scan the other leg. Well, let's see our answers. It's fun to climb trees. So if a person says, and then I scan the other leg, it's because it's fun to climb trees. So what would be our verb? What would I circle there? Climbing, right? So this one says it's fun to climb trees. B, climbing trees is good for ants. So because they said, and then I scan the other leg, does that mean that you can see in your head that climbing trees is good for ants? What's my verb there? Climbing trees, right? Let's look at C. A person can get hurt climbing trees. What's my verb there? They're climbing trees, but this one's talking about a person can get hurt. So because they're saying, and then I scan the other leg, does that mean that a person can get hurt while climbing trees? And D. A person can see a long way from the top of a tree. What's my verb here? They can see, right? So this one's saying that because a person can see a long way from the top of a tree, that means, and then I scan the other leg. Don't forget process of elimination, boys and girls. And actually, I'm going to erase this and put it right here because I forgot that at the bottom there's textual evidence. So I'm going to put lines 20 and 21. Now, if you don't have a highlighter, don't worry about it. You can just use a pencil. But I am going to ask for the textual evidence, which is where? Page 20 and 21. Yep. All right, boys and girls. So in class, we are going to check number 3 and number 4. Be ready to check your homework. And then don't forget that your exit ticket for yesterday was this one. So all you had to do was submit a picture of your annotations and it was an easy 100. So for today, your exit ticket is going to be a little bit different, but I will explain it to you in the live session. So I will see everybody in class. Bye, boys and girls.